with a new communism. And at the same time, through this segment, you're going to hear these fascists claim that they have antibodies.
And then the virus can't spread anymore because we build up the antibodies.
Claim that it's in their blood.
I got Russian blood, so that means I can't get viruses, I can't get sick.
That they are immune to the coronavirus and coming up with all kinds of crazy things.
You just gotta keep your immune system high, drink, smoke, and toilet.
Other than going to the science and the root of all this. All right, let's see what's going on.
Back on the sidewalk. We're gonna open the street up, folks. Back on the sidewalk, please. A counter-protest, many of them wearing orange t-shirts, holding signs in the middle of Spring Street.
All right, I'm out here on the street with the RNL, the Revolution Nothing Less show on Hollywood in front of the nice, beautiful Black Lives Fists. I'm here with Luan, and we're going to be talking to people about this sign and both sides of it. It says women are not bitches, hoes, incubators, punching bags, sex objects, or breeders. Women are full human beings. The other side, we're going to flip it over, we're also going to talk to people about is one of the 6 points of attention of the revolution. This is point number 2, and it says, we fight for a world where all the chains are broken. Women, men, and differently gendered people are equals and comrades. We do not tolerate physically or verbally abusing women or treating them as sexual objects, nor do we tolerate insults or jokes about people's gender or sexual orientation. And so we're going to hit the streets right now and get some reactions to this.
Women are not bitches, hoes, incubators, punching bags, sex objects, or breeders. Women are full human beings.
Sometimes you just walk in the street and people call you names and devalue who you are.
We live in the 21st century, but I feel like I'm being preyed on every day.
Yeah, you don't feel safe in the streets because you're just a woman. Not only in the streets, but everywhere you go.
I think us women, since we're little, we're taught like, oh, you can wear this, or you have to act like that, or you have to do that, because or else in the streets you can out of nowhere get raped or sexually abused, or I don't know.
Anything.
Yeah, so I think we need to change that, because women are not an object. We're human beings, as said there. So that really needs to change, because I want to feel safe. I don't want to walk in the street and be scared of something happening to me just because I'm a woman.
I have been beaten, battered, punched, shot at by my children's father. And I felt worthless. I felt hopeless.
I mean, I've seen cousins, friends, sisters, and, get beat on, called names. And
it's very unfortunate that domestic violence is an actual thing that's still going on in today's age, because that's disgusting. Personally, I don't believe in it. I've seen it growing up, and it's horrible.
I mean, I've been sexualized since I was a very young girl because I came into my own at a very young age. I also bartended for many, many years, and there's a lot of giggling with rude or obscene comments that you kind of just have to brush off your back if you don't want to get screamed at or not get money. So
I used to be in the military, and staff sergeants were mostly men. When you're in a situation where male bravado comes out in full force like that, and women are involved, then you absolutely get sexism and sexual harassment. They feel like it's a form of becoming part of the gang, so to speak. So especially in the military is full of bullies, and I experienced some of that firsthand.
Out in the city of Richmond, they have something called the Blade, while girls are being pretty much defaced, sold as objects right there. So I've seen girls that beat up out there. I've seen girls, a lot of things, man. Like, shit, I don't even want to go in detail. Fuck that side of my life, There's a lot of things going on in this world that are unfair, but thankfully there's females like you who are trying to stand up for everyone's rights. Appreciate that.
I think women are human beings. I mean, all this is extremely offensive. I think we should fight this. I think it's completely wrong. And anybody who believes in this is clearly a chauvinist, or they probably support the patriarchy, which I wouldn't know why you would.
They acting out because they've been learned to act this way. It's been taught to abuse your loved one. It's been taught to degrade a woman. It's been taught. Like racism has been taught.
I think we have an obligation to change things right now and make a better world from the generation that are here. I don't want my daughters, or even the girls that are already alive, I don't want any other little child to have to go through everything that we've been through. They deserve better. We deserve better.
Can you give any examples, either from your own life or other people's lives or from the broader society, what it is that you're talking about you don't want them to have to go through?
I don't want them to be scared of walking through life thinking that they are going to be raped or catcalled or sexually assaulted, or I don't want them to think that that's okay. I don't want them to think that love is equal to violence or anything that they've been through. They deserve better, and they need to treat better. They need to learn, and men need to get more educated so they don't have to go through this.
We fight for a world where all the chains are broken. Women, men, and differently gendered people are equals and comrades. We do not tolerate physically or verbally abusing women or treating them as sexual objects, nor do we tolerate insults or jokes about people's gender or sexual orientation.
Some real shit right there. That's all I gotta say. Keep it real. That's really real, man. That's about it.
You pretty much just outlined my own personal, how I like to personally hold myself accountable on a poster board. I feel like that's a beautiful way to put how we should all approach everyone and treat people and what we expect to be treated like in return. So I very much agree with that statement.
I think that's perfect. People should not think that we're objects, or especially the sexual orientation thing. That it's something that really bothers me, that people think that it's funny, like to joke about it, and I hate that. That is not funny, because people who go through that, it's super, like, for them, they don't think it's funny. For me, I'm not, like, straight, so it's not funny, and I think people should stop with that, and especially also the treat us like sexual objects, because we're not. Please stop.
I agree. I'm transgender.
100% a gay man. So yeah, I definitely agree with this. We have to stick together because we are the minority one way or another. So let the oppressed stop being oppressed. Let's join together and fill the world with love, more love.
I agree with every word. I can sign up under each word here. Yeah.
How's everybody doing? We're very excited to be here with you. I'm Noche Diaz. This is my co-host today.
Maya, hi.
How you doing? We want to welcome you all to the national fundraising live stream for the National Get Organized for an Actual Revolution tour. We got a lot in store for you. We're very, very excited to bring this live stream to you and to be bringing you into the process of rising to some truly historic and urgent challenges that are before not just us as a revolution, but humanity as a whole. The tour has been in the midst of intense struggles over these last few months since we started this phase of the National Revolution Tour. And we're at a point right now, a turning point, where the future and lives of millions really do hang in the balance. Trump has been on a law and order tear, whipping up white supremacist hatred and fear. He stands poised to and moving aggressively to consolidate his fascist rule over society, mobilize his fascist gangs all around the country, and marshal his forces to hold on to power. And now they face an opening with the death of RBG to potentially lock in another Supreme Court nominee, further locking the Supreme Court into the hands of a fascist regime, paving the way to further rewrite and change the rule of law to be what Trump says. This truly is an urgent situation. And there has been something else. There's been a beautiful uprising of thousands, perhaps tens of thousands or millions of people around the country since the murder of George Floyd. You're going to hear more about that. And this has shown that there's actually a different force in society that could go up against this. But there is an urgent challenge to understand and fully confront what we face. And to that end, Bob Avakian has issued a historic statement on the immediate critical situation, the urgent need to drive out the fascist Trump-Pence regime, voting in this election, and the fundamental need for revolution. This statement is something that is challenging and setting new terms for how people actually understand what it is we're confronting and what it is to be done about that. We're going to give you a taste of all this and what the National Revolution Tour has been up to. And again, we're going to be inviting you into the process of raising the much needed funds to actually make all this and much more happen, to rise to the urgent challenges that humanity is facing right now.
That's right. We are very excited to be here with you today, and I want you to take the time right now to share this, to call your friends, to call your neighbors, to let everyone know that this is on and tune in. We have a great show today, and hopefully, hopefully people get inspired and provoked to what the tour has been up to, what we have been doing across the country. And again, just giving you a chance to share it and to call your friends to donate. We're going to have more as we go on.
That's right. Remember, you can donate at 323-245-6947. You can call up and give your information. People are standing by, ready to take in people's pledges and donations. You can go to revcom.us to find the link to the PayPal. You'll hit the donate button, it'll take you there. You can go to Venmo and look for @RevolutionTour to donate. And to start us off, we want to play for you a short video where you can hear from Bob Avakian himself issuing his statement that came out in the midst of the beautiful uprising that followed after George Floyd's murder. And as it began to spread around the country, Bob Avakian issued this powerful statement.
Questions about what is needed. This is Bob Avakian speaking. To all those who have risen up so powerfully and are demonstrating to say no more after the murder of George Floyd and all the other cold-blooded murders by police. To all those who have drawn inspiration from this righteous uprising. To all those who have had the blinders forced from their eyes and have been provoked to think anew about what kind of country it is that we live in. This has raised the biggest questions about what is needed for people everywhere to live fully as human beings. An end to institutionalized racism and murder by police, nothing less. An end to any way people anywhere are used, abused, and brutalized, nothing less. We need a world without white supremacy and male supremacy. A world where no one is regarded as alien. A world without war, where people from all over the globe, with a beautiful flowering of diversity, act together for the common good and are truly caretakers of the earth. This is not just a dream. The possibility for this is being powerfully demonstrated in this uprising of the people, of all different races and genders, from all parts of the world, refusing to remain silent or stay passive while all this oppression and brutality goes on. To make all this real, we need revolution, nothing less. A strategic plan for how to make this revolution, and a sweeping vision and concrete blueprint for a radically different and much better world, where all this can become possible, can be found in the work I have done, including the Constitution for the new Socialist Republic in North America. You can learn more about this revolution and become part of making it a reality by going to revcom.us and joining with the Revcoms. We do not need to live in this world where so much of humanity suffers so unnecessarily under this system of capitalism imperialism that cannot exist without exploiting and degrading people, suffocating their humanity, and killing them without mercy. We can do much better. Don't listen to talk about how it can never happen. Look around you. What seemed impossible yesterday is happening right now. Revolution. Why should we settle for anything less?
And you just heard the leader of the revolution, Bob Avakian. And the tour members are followers of Bob Avakian. And we have dedicated our lives full-time to fighting for this revolution. And we would like we would like to share with you why we are followers of Bob Avakian, and hopefully through the live stream, you'll get a sense of what this tour is doing, and you get a sense of why we're followers of Bob Avakian and why you should be too. And the video that you just saw is actually produced by the RNL show, the Revolution Nothing Less show. Right. And this is where we are now, right, in this studio. And this is what the donations are part of making it happen. So it's very exciting to be here. It's very exciting that we're going to be showing more videos that have been produced by the RNL show. So right now we're going to, I'm going to give you a flow of what to expect through this live stream. And again, just a reminder, you still have time to get other people to tune in. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call your families to tune into this live stream. And first of all, we're going to hear from a leader from the movement and follower of Bob Avakian, Lenny Wolf, and he's going to be getting into the leadership Bob Avakian is providing at this critical juncture. And then we're going to hear from people in the tour who have been on the ground in Los Angeles, and they've been in the midst of the murder of the young Kidsey, which we're going to talk about further, and we're going to hear from them. And finally, we'll talk with Luan and Pete, who are members of the tour and are also part of the RNL show. And that's going to be towards the end, so make sure you stay tuned, don't leave, stay till the end. And we also we're going to be reading statements from donors, and your contribution goes, not only are you contributing, you're being part of a community that's supporting this revolution with people all across the country. There are also gifts involved. There are premiums. Would you like to hear about that?
I know I do. I'm very excited about some of these, and once again, we are in the new studio for the Revolution Nothing Less show. It still needs to be furnished. We still need more equipment, more furniture. And I want to shout out and thank to all the crew from the show who's part of making this live stream happen, and a shout out to all of you at home who are, by sharing this and making these contributions, are making this happen. And just to let you know, we started it off today with $2,479 that's been raised, as preparing to go into this live stream. And we have a goal by the end of the month, and we want to see if we can match that on this live stream today, or get as close as possible to raise $15,000. And this is, very beginning and very, small part of the funds that are needed to have the impact that not only we want to have, but that again, once again, the situation, the time, and the humanity is really counting on us to have. And so these premiums, these these are really part of some things that people are contributing to encourage everyone to give as much as you can. Think about all the money that is raised for all kinds of things, including all the money that was raised to support the white supremacist thug in Kenosha who murdered 2 protesters, okay? And, so much was raised by people who want to see that future of unleashed terror against the masses of people and everyone who stands up on the side of justice. On the side of those who want to see an end to all oppression, this tour, the leadership that we're connected with in Bob Avakian, and the work that we have been doing represents a way that people can contribute to fighting for a different future, where masses of people are part of putting an end to all the kind of terror and oppression that's concentrated in what we're up against with not just that one thug, but with this whole system and the fascist regime it's now brought to power. So these premiums are really, again, it's something you get, but actually it's a way that you're part of a whole community. Sustaining this revolution, fighting for it to make advances, and to really achieve what we're out to achieve.
That's right. So thank you to people who have already donated, and encourage everyone else to donate right now. And we do have a matching challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's a $1,000 matching challenge, and this is from a physicist who supports the Revolution Tour. And would you like to read that?
Sure. So again, this means that your donation right now will count. If you give $10, it will count as $20. If you give $50, it will count as $100.
Double.
So for the first $1,000 that we raise on this live stream, it will be matched by this person who says, I am making a $1,000 matching fund challenge for the Revolution Tour, and a critical phase in organizing for an actual revolution. I am making this contribution early because the diselection of Donald Trump is so critical. Another 4 years would consolidate his objective of a fascist America in the most powerful and influential country on earth. Science, evidence, logic, and justice have already been under attack. The first group Hitler exterminated were the communists. Scientists fled Germany. Trump's suppression of all opposition would delay a revolution until it might be too late. The coming climate catastrophe and glorification of ignorance and stupidity, unchallenged, will have ushered in a new dark age of world barbarity and unmitigated pestilence, if not the extinction of the human species. As far as we presently know, Homo sapiens are the only species in the universe that have realized science. At least some of them have. The loss of Homo sapiens might have astronomical consequences, possibly setting back the progress of the emergence of intelligence in the universe by 1 billion years. It might be possible to say that with the success of this tour, we may be able to save humanity in time, and at the same time, possibly save intelligent life in the universe.
Wow, that's pretty moving.
Oh, you were going to tell us about the
Yes.
premiums.
So this is a matching challenge, and so let me go through the premiums. Look, this is to encourage people to donate. So you can get, with a group of people giving $10 each or more, you can have a tour representative, such as Noche, to have a phone conference or a Zoom call. With $20, you can have a conference call with tour members. $25 will get you a constitution, which is a blueprint of the world that we're fighting to bring into being. And this has been authored by the leader, Bob Avakian, the Constitution for the New Socialist Republic in North America. So for $25, you either get the Constitution or Basics, which is the blueprint for revolution. And for $100, you can get Basics or the Constitution and the memoir by Bob Avakian. And we have something special, actually. It's the paper mache, right? Figurines. These things were, if you're looking at it, when I saw this, I was very inspired. These are really very beautiful. This was made, this is a 2 feet tall figurines, and they were made by someone who supports the tour. And so this is part of challenging people to donate. And how much are these going for? So, if you donate, what do you get?
So there's 4 figurines, which I hope we're going to be able to show you different pictures of. 2 of them are separate, which you've just seen. One of them holding a banner, much like the banner that's behind us right now. The other figurine is a depiction of someone holding up the new Communism by Bob Avakian, and the holding up the Stop Police Terror banner with different images of people who've been murdered by police. So the 2 separate figurines by themselves are $50. The set of 2 together is $100, and for $150, you can get all 4. Just make your contribution and send a message to Get Organized for Actual Revolution Tour at gmail.com, and call us, PayPal us, and make sure you leave a note on which premium you'd like, and if you'd like the figurines, please note that. So we also want to let you know that, look, part of what this money is needed for is, amongst various other things, is the core of people who have committed themselves to join this tour need to be sustained. Okay, we need. A lot of people don't know that you can actually become a monthly sustainer for the tour, and this would be a very, a precious thing. There's many people who do so already on a monthly basis. We have 28 sustainers currently, giving a total of $1,360 a month, and pledges that range from $5 to $300. And we have to increase our capacity of monthly sustainers. So if you can give a regular contribution, whether it's $5 or $300, that would be a huge contribution, both to the goals of this live stream, but also the objectives of this tour in an ongoing way. Our volunteers and our whole movement needs, materials. It costs about $3,500 a month to produce the different pamphlets, the shirts, the posters, the banners, the various things that are needed to spread the word about this revolution and enable the people that we're organizing into this revolution to actually take part in it with things like these materials with points of attention for the revolution that they can distribute and give people a sense of the principles that they're living by and fighting for, and the different articles and pieces that are being laid out from Bob Avakian can be posted up in different neighborhoods. We need $12,000 to sustain the housing and the organizing center for the Revolution Club and the Revolution Tour here in LA. And we need thousands of dollars, of expenses for when we're able to and need to send people from LA or sometimes from different parts of the country to different hotspots and different zones where there's concentrations of need for people to come in with the revolution. And in fact, my co-host here, Maya, is somebody who we've sent out to Minneapolis shortly after the murder of George Floyd, when people were rising up and calling out to the whole world to join them in the streets, and was part of a crew with Sarah Taylor and Carl Dix, who went out there in the earlier days of that to mix it up with people. And then she also was part of going to Portland, Oregon, when the battle there became heated up and there were federal agents going in there and attacking protesters who had risen up, and target with unmarked federal agents, no identification, no agency, unmarked cars, rounding people up, no charges, this kind of terror that was being used to suppress the protest. Maya was down there in Portland. We actually have a beautiful video of Maya out there with people that we want to share with you right now to give you a sense of what your money is part of making happen.
unite, but I'm also here to bring what no one else is going to bring, an understanding of what the root of the problem is and what the solution is. We do not have to live in a society where black people have to walk with a target on their back. No more! 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 And in order to bring a society without borders, a society where women and men and differently gendered peoples are treated as equals and comrades, we're gonna need to overthrow this system once and for all. And that's gonna require science and leadership. And I encourage everyone with the heart who wants to bring this world into being to look into Bob Avakian, who has dedicated his whole life to digging into what is the problem and what is the solution. Right now we are recruiting thousands who can be trained in the science and the theory, so we can work right now to hasten to where millions of people are ready for revolution, and we can go all out and defeat and dismantle the system apparatus and get rid of this system of oppression once and for all. And right now, just a few more things, brothers. I want to say about what's in store for us. We're at a crossroads. We have a fascist Trump and Pence in the White House. Fuck Trump! Fuck Trump! Fuck Trump! Fuck Trump! Fuck Trump! Fuck Trump! And what's needed is not to wait for November, sisters and brothers. Too many lives are at stake, and he has said, what about postponing the election? Fuck that. Fuck that. How many times have he said things, and people have said, he's not gonna do that, but he does it anyway.
Yeah. Fucking dangerous.
We need to take to the streets as we are in the millions and not stop with the demand. Trump Pence out now! 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 And as the revolutionary, I'm not stopping there, because I want to get rid of the whole system. Let me leave you with a chance. One is, come and talk with us and find out how you can be part of this. Go to revcon.us and look, Bob Avakian is controversial. Hell yeah, he's controversial. Any revolutionary who's talking about overthrowing the system is going to offend some people. If it doesn't, then you're not talking about an actual revolution. Okay? But look at the substance. This brother has given his whole life to looking at how to put an end to white supremacy and male supremacy. Look at the substance and think for yourself. Okay? So let me leave you with a chant. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? Okay, I should have answered first. Okay, just repeat it. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? Revolution, nothing less. Revolution, nothing less. Let me see your fist up. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? Revolution, nothing less. How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess? Revolution, nothing less. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Revolution, nothing less. Revolution, nothing less. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Revolution, nothing less. Revolution, nothing less. Thank you.
You're live. That was you, wasn't it?
That was me, and it brings back memories. That was a beautiful experience, and this is what the donations go to. You know, this was very important that the tour was there to unite with the people and also bring the people the leadership, the strategy for an actual revolution. And we need to do this on a wider scale, you know, and we did meet people who are interested in being part of this revolution, who we are currently working with right now. I want to give a shout out to people in Portland right now. And so this is what donating means. It's for us to allow to be in other areas where people are rising up and connecting people with this revolution. So
speaking of what your money goes to, this is the kind of thing that needs to happen much more, and we've already on the right track towards where we need to go. I understand we've met our first $1,000 matching donation. That's why we were so excited when the cameras came back on. That's right, we can make some noise.
Yeah! Thank you so much.
Donations have come in of $40, $25, $500, $100, $500, $40. In total, we've raised another $1,205 since we began with $2,479. And again, because of that first $1,000 matching fund, that brings us to $2,205 raised so far since the beginning of this live stream. And we'll get you the total figures in just a second. More is coming in, but before all that, we do have something very special in store for you. Next up, we want to welcome our guests. We have a longtime veteran revolutionary and follower of Bob Avakian, Lenny Wolf, who's going to be joined by comrades on the Revolution Tour discussing some of the extremely important and urgent work that Avakian has been doing to develop our understanding of the immediate situation we're in. Several statements that he's issued, an analysis that's penetrating and urgent for everyone to get more of and get a sense of how the tour and the people on it are actually working with this. So with that, I want to welcome Lenny Wolf and Luna and Prose.
Hi, everybody. Right now, the most important struggle going on in the world today is the struggle to drive out the Trump-Pence fascist regime and to prevent the imposition on not just the United States, but on humanity and even the possible extinction of humanity. And to do this up against tremendous odds, tremendous confusion as to what is the problem and how do we get out of this, and tremendously important stakes. In this situation, it's important to grasp that Bob Avakian has been providing leadership on this question of fascism, applying the scientific method of the new communism to the concrete analysis of conditions in the United States, and with a grasp of what people have done and how people have approached this worldwide throughout the history of our movement. And this has gone on for decades. And there's a substantial body of work on this question that he's done. At the same time, over the course of this, once the Trump-Pence regime came to power, there's been the speech he gave on the Trump-Pence fascist regime must go. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America in 2017. There's been a number of talks and written works of analysis of this that's been providing tremendous guidance and inspiration for people. Not just inspiration, but actual guidance, strategic guidance on how to approach this, how to solve a lot of the knotty problems that this poses. All this took a leap with the statement published on August 1st on the immediate critical situation, the urgent need to drive out the fascist Trump-Pence regime, voting in this election, and the fundamental need for revolution. I'm going to say just a few words about this statement, but mostly I want to talk with Luna and Prose about how they've been engaging it, how they've been working with different kinds of people with this statement, and a number of other things about how we're actually going to move forward to transform the situation we face on this. I'd like to say a few things about the statement. I'd like to begin with a clip that we arranged ahead of time. Could you cue that up?
That gives rise to these horrors. Normally, we revolutionary communists argue that people should not vote in bourgeois elections, which serve to reinforce the existing system of capitalism, imperialism, and feed popular illusions that exploitation, oppression, and injustices can somehow be reformed away, short of getting rid of the system that gives rise to these horrors in the first place. But is this the right position to take in relation to this particular election? To answer this, we need to look at the whole picture.
And what follows is an extremely rich statement laying out, I'm going to highlight 4 things. 1, there's a discussion of the stakes we actually face in this situation, an unsparing analysis of the roots of this fascism, what this fascism has already done in the last 3+ years, and what is possibly in the offing if they're able to actually fully consolidate with the election to a second term. There is a strategic vision of the struggle, the kind of struggle that we need to have. Why millions of people must be in the streets before this election, demanding this regime being driven out, trying with everything we have to drive it out as soon as possible. 3, in that context, and if this regime is not driven out, there's a discussion of the question of voting, exactly the question that's posed in the segment we just played, and the need to vote to drive out Trump, what the effect of this could be in terms of providing support for the struggle, both to drive out the Trump-Pence regime or to and to defeat the fascism they represent, and also in the fight against all oppression and exploitation. There's a discussion of why this is so important, and a refutation of a number of the arguments against this, and then a return to the fact that if we rely on voting, the results are almost certain to be disastrous, and a reiteration of the need to bring forward thousands and thousands into the streets, building into the millions. And the final thing I want to discuss is the strategic viewpoint of this talk, or touch on rather than discuss it and just point people towards it. And I want to quote a section of the last paragraph in particular, which is, well, I'll let it speak for itself. This is B.A. speaking. Given the truly monumental stakes involved, not only in terms of any particular issue, no matter how important, and not merely in terms of this country, but for the masses of people throughout the world and the future of humanity, there is a great need to approach things and act with the sophistication necessary to handle the complex and difficult contradictions involved in all this. Having a broad vision, rejecting petty sectarianism and brittle dogmatism, and not falling into a paralyzing either-or. Either we fight against white supremacy and police terror, or we fight to bring about the removal of the Trump-Pence fascist regime. Either we vote in this election, or we build mass struggle against outrageous oppression and against this fascist regime. Either we oppose this regime by all appropriate means, or we work for revolution. In this extraordinary and very complex situation, and from the point of view of advancing the struggle toward the goal of finally eliminating all exploitation and oppression everywhere, there is an urgent need to do all of that, and to do so with an understanding of the correct and necessary relation between the different parts of this overall approach, putting the main emphasis and reliance on mass mobilization, with voting in this extraordinary situation necessary and important, but not the main thing to be relied upon. And in fundamental terms, making all this contribute to creating more favorable conditions for and building up the organized forces for not only resisting the crimes of this system, but finally carrying out the revolution that is needed in order to put an end to this monstrously criminal system and its domination of the world in any form. This statement has been seen by tens of thousands. It needs to be seen by millions and millions. It needs to be taken up by thousands, then tens of thousands, and then, yes, millions. This is providing guidance and leadership for those millions in this very, very crucial situation. And we have to understand that, and a little later I'm going to ask you to donate to get this statement out as far, far more broadly than we have up till now. But this is also, or not but, as part of that, this is also providing leadership for the RevComs on this tour. And I did want to introduce my two comrades here who I want to talk with and see how this is, how they're engaging this and how they're connecting this to people who they're meeting and organizing on the tour. And I want to introduce you to Luna, who's she came forward after, in the midst of the struggle against the police murder of Michael Brown. And she joined a group at her junior college and got very active and increasingly disillusioned with the identity politics that was guiding that group. And then ran into the RevComs and especially ran into what she told me was very seminal in solidifying her break with identity politics and her understanding of the need, first of all, that you could understand the world, and then what was needed to radically change the world, which is the essay in chapter 4 of Basics on two radical leaps, two very different worldviews and outlooks. You'll have to go and see the actual title for yourself. And our other friend here, our other comrade, is Prose, who's a veteran of 9 months now, a little less. And her baptism, she had a baptism by fire, I have to say. She was one of, she heard that the RevComs were going to demonstrate against 22,000 howling reactionary Second Amendment people in Richmond, Virginia last January, and when she heard there were 8 of them, she said, well, now you got 9, let me have some of that. So, she, you know, and let me tell you something, this is also about why we need money to spread this tour. There are thousands of Lunas out there. There are thousands of people just like Prose out there. And they don't know. Prose herself told me, you know, I didn't know, if I had known about Refuse Fascism or the Revolution Club, would have made a huge difference to me for those 3.5 years I was looking for a way to fight and didn't know where to go. So how do we, this tour, and how do you, with your financial support, help us reach all the Lunas and Proses of the world? But before, okay, enough of that now. Let's get into Prose. You were talking before we started about how you engaged with the, you know, how the statement hit you when you first read it, where you were and how it hit you and what the process has been.
Yeah, I was in Portland actually with Maya when the statement first came out. And so there was a night that I read it, and going through it, you know, I had like had to like take a step back. I was really shocked by what was being put forward, because there are ways that, well, I guess I want to start with kind of like, it hasn't been that long since I joined up with the club, and reading the statement reminded me of a discussion group that I was a part of really, really early into meeting the club, which was in Washington, D.C. During Trump's impeachment. And we all listened to a clip from Bob Avakian from something that he wrote and narrated, Communism and Jeffersonian Democracy, and how I'd come to practice my politics or whatever. In the past, I had a heart to want to see an end to a lot of the injustices of this system, but the way that I came to act on that was kind of by how my friends might have been acting on things and what was popular as far as like voting or not voting. I was somebody who would vote. I didn't feel like it really made a difference, but I was like, oh, well, my friends will be pretty mad at me if I don't, and not really digging into deeply to what the reality of this is and what it means to vote and participate in this system. So this talk by Bob Avakian that I was listening to, he did some agitation and some sharp exposure around the fact that channeling your outrage against the injustices of this system into voting was really, it was a dead end, and it wasn't a solution actually. And so initially, I was compelled by that, and I was very, very fresh into meeting the club and actually being introduced to leadership that encouraged people to really tear apart reality and analyze it and be critical of it in moving forward to change it. And so there was a little bit of, I guess, kind of laziness in my thinking, or there was a lot of spontaneity to kind of like be compelled by the agitation. But going back to like reading this statement, he in the very beginning, he's like, us communists, we usually don't vote. And yeah, I remember after, when I was first with the club and I heard this talk, I was like, there needs to be a lot of sharp exposure or why voting isn't, the way to go. And I'd kind of put a lid on that for a while. So reading this statement and having BA revisit reality at a critical moment and not cling on to like that petty dogmatism of like, oh, we have this, principle somewhere in the air that we're just going to hang on to. We're on our high horse and we're not going to, in a sense, like, just clinging on to certain precepts of we don't do this or we do this, but actually revisiting and returning to reality to understand it. And so, yeah, it kind of humbled me in a way, and it's, again, BA modeling what it means to be a scientific leader and put out a scientific line of approaching reality to change it. And so I had to do some digging, going back and thinking about like, how is it that I'd come to settle on just like this idea that we wouldn't vote, or, to actually step into modeling the leadership that he's providing. And yeah.
When we were talking ahead of time, you were remembering that you had sort of passed by the part where he talks in Communism and Jeffersonian Democracy about agonizing over this question at different junctures.
Yeah.
And that this was, I guess I'm just reminding you, but anyway, we can revisit that. I think that's really important. There was a lot of struggle. It's still a lot of struggle to be waged with people over precisely this question that Prose was pointing to of a scientific method and approach to the reality we face right now, to making a real analysis, to digging into the analysis in this statement. I did want to also bring in Luna, who's had a lot of it. There's a lot Luna could talk about, but I want to focus on the experience you've had. Luna's been doing a lot of work in organizing people in South Central LA, where there's been a tremendous amount of struggle of late. And in particular, she was telling me a number of different things about that work. But you were saying in reference to the statement, you were talking about work that you did with 3 younger teenagers, and I wondered if you could share that with the viewers.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they're watching this. If they are, I do give them a shout out as well. And I think that, I had gotten together with 3 youth in that neighborhood who have stepped forward in very significant ways in a short period amount of time, including representing for this revolution in the neighborhood itself, wearing the RNL t-shirts and getting into BA. And very seriously. And we had gotten together just kind of informally, and we read the whole statement together. And it was long to read it all together because, people have different levels of understanding, and that's okay. And we opened it up for if people had questions during, and, if people didn't understand certain words. So it was a really good discussion, because I think through that process of digging into the statement, these youth and people were able to distinguish, okay, what is fascism? One of them said that they had come to a fuller understanding that, oh, this is saying that Trump is the law, This is saying that, another one of them said, oh, so you're saying Trump wants to commit a genocide against black people and brown people. And even then, they were also showing me things that they've been engaging on TikTok, on YouTube. One of them showed me a video of these black college students. I can't remember when, but they were at a press conference with Trump, and they're just praising Trump, Thank you for doing what you've done for me. And then I asked her, well, what do you think about that? She's like, I think that's wrong. I think he doesn't care about you. He hates you. Why are you praising him when he actually hates black people? And he's murdering us. The police are murdering us. And just, coming to that understanding, and also even her herself making an important video after September 5th, the protest, that we had, that Refuse Fascism had to demand Trump Pence out now and launch these 60 days of struggle. They attended, and off of it, she made a really beautiful video, kind of, illustrating starting with the video started off with the attempted murder of Jacob Blake in Kenosha. And then after that, laying out scenes of what has been going on in South Central itself, the LASD, really clamping down on protesters after the murder of Dejan Kizzy, which they were a part of as well, and we all got tear gassed together by these pigs. And she shows clips of that, but then after that, she also shows clips of the revolutionaries in the midst of this, how a revolutionary pole and people marching through that neighborhood on August 1st, August 18th, what kind of change that could actually make in people's thinking, and how people need to relate to that in terms of what we do represent, which is a whole different way that the world could be beyond all this. So it was a very beautiful video, and I think, that after reading that statement, I think that really influenced her to do that. And I think it actually displays the kind of potential and what kind of impact this statement can have on youth everywhere, and the kind of impact that it needs to have going further in these next, 50 days now to the election. So
I think that one thing I want to say, and then first of all, you have an update.
Okay, yes. And we want people to know this is very exciting. We've raised a little over $800 since this segment began, including $300 came in for one of those paper mache figurines, which is we're trying to get an update for you on which figurine, so that you know what's still available. But there are still the two set figurines and one left. There's been two $50 donations, $25 donation. There's a $300 donation that came with the message that we're so proud of the RevComs. I know the hour is getting late, and that's why I'm donating. And so that people know, our figure is around $4,834 now. So I wanted to give the audience that update.
That's very good. Now first of all, though, I wanted to return to what Prose was saying. While we were getting ready for this, Prose made the point that you had been a Bernie person, right? Or at least a Bernie voter at one point. Am I right or no?
I ended up voting for Jill Stein, but I was door knocking for Bernie before.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Bernie people, quote unquote, out there who need to be reached with this statement, who are caught up in the same kinds of thinking, somewhat, well, as you characterized it, lazy thinking, of looking at this with your prearranged categories of what you know and being blind to the actual reality that's laid out in this statement. So I am making a pitch now for people to really donate, and if you want to earmark it for money to particularly get this statement in front of many, many, many more eyes, do so. We will honor that earmarking of it. This statement really needs to reach people. It needs to reach the Bernie people. It needs to reach the kinds of people that Luna's talking about. There's a tremendous intellectuals, all kinds of people in society, the people who've been in the streets during the beautiful rising, people who are now coming into the streets over the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There's nothing that lays out the real scope of what we're facing and what we need to do about it in anything approaching this. This is providing very, very important leadership for this juncture. So I want to make that, I want to underscore it and emphasize it and call on people to donate to get this statement out. Shortly after this statement came out, or not that shortly, but BA began putting out a series on Donald Trump as a genocidal racist. And Luna was giving me some sense of the impact this has had in the communities where she's carrying out most of her political organizing. I wondered if you could share some of that with people. Do we have, that's the copy of the pamphlet that's just out, and I'm going to say a little bit more, and there's the poster, and I'm going to say more about that poster. Well, wait, can you bring up that poster a little more? Is that, no. Okay. There's a number of posters, 10 posters for each of the 10 articles that that our aim is to get these up all over the neighborhoods of this country. But I want Luna to talk some about the response to this poster thus far, to give us, not the poster, but just the statements thus far, to give a sense of some of the potential impact this.
Yeah, so we've been taking out this series out in South Central, especially in the area where Dijon Kizzee was murdered by the police, or by the LA sheriffs. And there's been significant responses, you know, when you bring people to this whole series, because it does, if people haven't read it, like, you should go after this or go right now to RevCom and read this whole series, because it does take you on a whole journey of understanding of who Donald Trump really is. And I think I've read directly from this statement to people in that neighborhood, and they'll agree with you, yeah, he is a genocidal racist. But then you actually bring them even to part 1, where BA talks about, or quotes Mary L. Trump, who is Donald Trump's niece, talking about how, you know, I'm sure that Donald Trump, you know, was looking at that pig who murdered George Floyd and would have wished that were his knee on his neck. And when you read that to people, there's been a pattern of like speechlessness because of the real truth that it's getting at, but 2, that's the reality that we're confronting, and who Trump is. And I think that, you know, even just yesterday we went on another car caravan through the neighborhood, and we were kind of trying to give people a vision of what would it mean if these posters were up all over the neighborhood. What do we mean by genocidal racism? And if you read this all the way through and read that as a thorough line, then you have to realize that you need to be doing something different with your life. That you actually have to sacrifice and move heaven and earth to stop this regime before it carries out all of what it has already carried out and even more. And then I think it does take people out of their life conditions of just getting used to the police pulling you over all the time for being black, getting used to being harassed by, you know, thinking that white people don't even care about you at all. It pulls you out of that and actually pulls the lens back to what is going on, and pulls you out of all the messed up things that this system has you got caught up in, of seeing another person looking just like you as the enemy. It takes you out of that. It actually becomes meaningless when you read this whole piece. And I think that could really have an impact on not just the people in this neighborhood in South Central, but in the south side of Chicago, people who are liberal people, who may have gotten normalized to the horror of banning Muslims and tear gassing children at the border. You know, we can't get used to that, and nobody should get used to that. And that is, you know, that is called conciliation and collaboration if you have gotten used to that. So I think that's, you know, getting these posters up everywhere can make a huge impact on the way people think and how people act in this historic moment. And I think that is what we need to be bringing to people. So
I think that's really, really important. I want to, if those posters were up beyond just the south side of Chicago and south central LA, what if they were up all over LA, all over wherever you went, you saw it, all over other cities, in the suburbs, like you were saying? What effect do you think that would have on people thinking they could fight this, and both they needed to and that they could?
I think the impact it can have is that, I mean, just to kind of even bring it back to yesterday, what we did with the caravan through South Central, we were carrying the names and the faces of all of the people who have been murdered at these Black Lives Matter protests by white supremacists or the police. And, you know, people don't know who these people are and the fact of how many people like have died. And I think there within that and what's being brought forward with this genocidal racist series by BA is that, like, it does seriously pose the question of what is worth living and dying for. Because these people, like Summer Taylor, like Heather Heyer, Garrett Foster, you can go down the list. These people put their bodies on the line to call for an end to white supremacy and to call for an end for Black people to stop getting murdered. And they died for it. That is where we're at right now. And we have to ask ourselves, okay, Anthony Huber, he went in front of Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, who was a white supremacist Trump supporter, who potentially could have committed mass murder on all of those protesters, you know? But Anthony Huber went and stopped him from doing that, and he died in the process. We have to ask ourselves, is that worth it? And I would argue yes, because we actually have to come and fill their shoes. Because it can't just be a few number of people who are out there putting their bodies on the line. It has to be all of us who care and who understand what's concentrated in this genocidal racist series to go out and fight for it. Because people are dying. Like, it's not getting any better. And what we do actually determines what kind of future we want to live in. And there is a possible future to live in a world without all this because of what BA has done. And people don't get that. And I think that that's the kind of impact it can have on people. Really, you know, again, like when you see this, all of what you're going through in your personal life, not that it's unimportant, but it actually pales in comparison to what humanity is facing if we don't drive out Trump and Pence, and if we don't overthrow the system that gave birth to it. And I think that's what we have to really put in front of people, and I think is the impact that these statements could have if they were everywhere, not just in LA, in Chicago, in Detroit, in Houston, everywhere where people actually know about this, that this statement exists. It needs to go up and even further than that. So
I think that's very, very important, everything she just said. I want to make another fund pitch in that light. If you can imagine what it would mean to get these statements up, to get the pamphlet up that's also been printed, for which the PDFs exist, and get this out to people. If you can imagine how the case that's made by Bob Avakian here, the impact this could have all over, I'm asking you to donate right now, and you can earmark to pay for these. The printing of 2,000 of this pamphlet that was done in New York just recently cost $2,000. We have to be serious here. We have to dig deep, and we have to listen very carefully to what she just said about the stakes and what's required of us, the level of sacrifice. So I did want to, and also this, to not just dig deep in your own pocket, but very importantly, to go to other people, to spread this genocidal racist series around, to spread the other materials that BA has written, the pamphlet I held up at the pamphlet of the statement, to spread these around everywhere to people you know, to take these up, to step out of your comfort zone and not just take them up, but ask people to donate, to really make this have the force behind it, so that it can get out to people, so that people who haven't heard about this can hear about it. So I'm asking you to do that. We have one more update, and then we're going to have it's going to have to be a little bit briefer segment, but I still think it's important from prose in a minute. But what's the update?
We'll hold it? Yeah.
Okay. After this began coming out, in the past 10 days, Bob Avakian has put out two very important statements, with a third part coming at some point soon. And the name of this overall statement is "Voting Will Not Be Enough. We need to take to the streets and stay in the streets, demanding Trump Pence out now." And the first statement is entitled, "The Democrats Can't Fight Trump the Way He Needs to Be Fought." And the second part, which has come out, is Trump is already stealing the election and threatening even more violence to stay in power. Shortly after the first statement came out, I talked with Prose, and she had something I thought to say that was fairly illuminating, that I wondered if she could just bring to bear in terms of the content of that first statement and the impact it had on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Luna was just speaking about ties into this as well, is that right now we do need masses of people, thousands and then millions, mobilized against fascism, and ultimately as well, like, revolution. And we don't have that now as to date. But this series that's been coming out in the first two pieces, and speaking specifically about the first, it's providing some material grounding for the basis on, like, why is it that voting won't be enough. And it's really sharply breaking people with some illusion that there's going to be a savior that comes in and fixes things. And being out on the ground and working with people at these different protests and trying to spread the word for the August 1st statement, getting people mobilized into the street against the fascist regime, I was working with somewhat of a limited understanding. Like, I understood to an extent that, voting won't be enough. And what I was able to provide, with detail is, one, there's a lot of repression for voting that Trump has been setting up, and all of the fascist BS that he's been putting forward, outright saying that he might not respect the results if he should lose. But I'd go to people and say, the Democrats don't have an answer for this. They don't have an answer for fascism should he not step down. And so this first article that came out, "The Voting Will Not Be Enough," actually walking through what the Democrats' strategy for this is, it was really grounding, and it kind of gave the same effect as another article that came out earlier, really early into the George Floyd uprising, where this banner, "The system cannot be reformed, it must be overthrown." He starts that like, is that just something that we say? It's a good slogan, it's a correct slogan, but what is the material basis for that? And so this article came out. Racial oppression can be ended, but not under this system. And it really walked through, in the same fashion as this recent article, the material basis for why he's saying that and the evidence that backs it up. And again, going back to what he was putting forward in that first statement that I recommend everybody go read, part 1 and part 2. But in part 1, outlining what the Democrats' strategy is, how they're confined to the limitations of this system in an attempt to preserve it, a system that gave rise to fascism, a system that has these deep and defining contradictions that give rise to all of this, all these horrific things that people have to live through, from the murder and mass incarceration of black and brown people to the degradation of women to the destruction of the environment. And, you know, the Democrats don't have an answer for this, and this is the system that they wish to preserve. So there was just, you know, those two statements that came out. I was really compelled to share them immediately with friends of mine and family of mine. Of course, being a part of the tour, we're working with different people, and we meet a lot of people who really care about this. But like immediately I was compelled to, like, I had to send it to like 5 people specifically that I know very closely. I'm like, yeah, I'll need to read this.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's very important. I want to read one part from this statement, yeah, and then we're moving forward, don't worry. BA's writing, he says, as representatives of this system, and as first of all, this goes very deeply into the whole white supremacist roots of this Trump-Pence fascist offensive and how they are fighting this campaign on the basis of reinforcing those roots and actually taking things way, way, way backward and even into what Luna was emphasizing, very possibly a genocidal solution to these problems they face. But I thought this part was really interesting in regard to what Luna was saying. As representatives of this system and as upholders of its traditional institutions and stability, they do not want to win an election and head the government on the basis of appealing to and further arousing a force of tens of millions filled with passionate intensity to end police terror and white supremacy, which in fact are built into and required by this system. But the revolution is interested in bringing forward a new system that is based on unleashing the tens of millions around precisely all those, that long historic outrage of America and all the other outrages that we call the 5 stops, the demonization of immigrants, the gender oppression of women and LGBTQ people, the wars for empire and the plunder, the ugly plunder of the environment that we now see playing out in front of us in such horrific fashion. So the final point is this, I guess. My final appeal is this. They have me up here as part of a premium for doing I guess a phone conference or a Zoom conference on the Constitution. I would love to do that. I would certainly do that. We did one before. And I'd love to do that again because the Constitution shows you how we could get out of this. This is a seminal part of what BA brought forward. But I do want to also offer as a premium, particularly given how late the hour is right now, that I'll do a discussion later this week with anybody who donates $50 or who pledges to go out to try to raise $50 from others if they possibly can, to really dig into these this series by BA. I want to do it after the final article in the series comes out, which is, as BA says, will speak to the big question. And here is the big question, because we're not trying to lead people. There will be sacrifice, but we're not trying to lead people into a defeat by any means. And he says, how the nonviolent but sustained and continually growing mass mobilization demanding Trump-Pence out now that has been called for and is being organized by refusefascism.org could lead to or contribute in a major way to a situation in which the Trump-Pence regime would be removed from power. So I realize this ended up, I just looked at the watch, I'm sorry, but I think that there's, get the statement out, go to RevCom, read the other materials that BA has been putting out now for decades, years, months, and weeks on this question. It's a very important form of, this is providing leadership. This is providing leadership not just for the movement for revolution, but for all of humanity. So I think we can close out on that.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Okay.
That was a rare and precious treat that you all got. Get a chance to see Lenny Wolf getting in with some new comrades who are really developing and training themselves to be leaders of this revolution on the basis of this new communism and the leadership that Bob Avakian is providing. It's an example of what's possible by this tour actually bringing together this cohort of people, and what's possible by you donating to support and sustain this. What kind of atmosphere is being created, and what kind of people are coming forward, and what's before us in terms of actually taking this up and changing the world on the basis of what all people are wrestling with and working on. So we have some updates for you all, I believe so. Yeah?
Yes, we do have an update, but I just want to say quickly, just to add what he was saying, that yeah, we are the tour. We're wrestling, right, with the science. We're wrestling with what Bob Avakian is bringing forth. But as you heard from the members, that we are also, bringing these discussions with other people that we're meeting forth, because we are needing and we are training others to become leaders of this revolution. And so the update on the donations is, first of all, we did meet the one overthrow banner, just to let you know.
And so what's still available is the set with the banner of stolen lives murdered by the police, the two figurines holding that one, which is a little bit cut off in the picture that might be up there, but it's in the background. And then the figurine of the person holding up the new communism from Bob Avakian. So those are still available for donations. We have more updates about where we are and what the numbers are at.
So, yes, so the new total right now, it's at, wait for it, $6,636
I believe
right
that's a
now.
9, Maya.
$6,936.
That's great.
And the donations have been from $100 to $25 to $50 to $27. The Revolution Books in New York City raised $40, $27, and $25 at their viewing party. So this is great to continue donating. And we right now have another matching
That's right.
challenge of $2,000 from a retired teacher. And let me read you what she has to say. The time has come for a moment to uproot the whole oppressive system. It's actually long overdue. Everyone who values justice and humanity should rally to support the work of these courageous and conscious revolutionaries by contributing funds to assist them in this crucial work. This is why I'm contributing $2,000 as a matching fund, and why I'm challenging you to match and surpass that. Every contribution lends material support to this vitally important work. It is also beyond that, strengthens the moral of people, sometimes driven to despair by heartless brutality of the system, to see the potential for another world that exists.
So it's heavy and
so true.
Very true. And I do want to say, look, we're at almost 7,000 now. We just got another $2,000 matching donation. That means if everything you give is matched by for the next $2,000, and if we raise another $2,000, that will not just bring us to 9,000, it'll bring us to 11,000. We're in striking distance, folks, of this $15,000 goal, and it would make a huge difference to actually meet that. And we're close. So reach out to your friends, your loved ones. Share on your social media page the work of the tour, the live stream that's happening right now. We still got some great things in store for you, and I think we're gonna move along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think at this point, what I would like to do is take a moment and actually bring you along with us in terms of where we are on this tour, and refresh on what we set out to do and what we've started. This tour has brought together a cohort a group of revolutionaries, grounding ourselves in the leadership of Bob Avakian, who has forged and applied the science of the new communism to lay bare the very core workings of this system, why it cannot be reformed and must be overthrown, how that can be done, and how we can build a new society on the road to ending all oppression and emancipating humanity. We have set out with the historic objectives of putting this leadership and revolution on the map in this country, and of building up a national movement for an actual revolution. We've gone right up against the idea that there is no alternative, or that the best we can hope for is just to change ourselves or make it life a little better for some people in this parasitic country. We set out to challenge and inspire people with real hope on a scientific foundation, but also to get the thousands organized now as part of making this revolution. We began this phase of the tour in LA last March, 6 months ago, in what seems like the before times, with an uplifting International Women's Day, a march which saw the uncorking of bitterness and outrage at the daily abuse, insult, and terror that women are forced to endure in a male supremacist world. Through engaging BA, Bob Avakian, big questions got opened up with people about where does this all come from? And people began asking, what if the world doesn't have to be this way? Very soon after we began, the global pandemic with the COVID-19 began to take leaps and take hold. There were necessary shutdowns and changes in how everything was done. Our plans had to change. But the work and the objectives of this revolution tour are essential. So we developed new ways to go at it. We got the protective equipment that we needed. We learned and spread the social distancing practices. And we struggled. We issued and posted up communiques in the various neighborhoods which struggled with people over basic science, exposed the disastrous nature of this system and how it deals with diseases, and its pre-existing inequalities and oppressive divisions. It was at this time that the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show on YouTube was launched, which is currently being produced by the tour in LA. And it was an exciting new way that the revolution and the new communism brought forward by Bob Avakian are being projected and brought alive in living color every week. All summer long, tour members in LA and RevComs across the country have been out in the midst of this beautiful uprising against the police murder of black and other oppressed people that got concentrated in the murder of George Floyd. Dispatched to the front lines in Minneapolis and Portland, to Tulsa, Kenosha, and in front of the White House in D.C., bringing the fundamental need for revolution and the urgency of fully confronting the fascism of the Trump-Pence regime right into the midst of the thousands who were awakening to political life and burning with the desire to see an end to oppression. As a battle over the nature and history of this country raged over the beautiful sight of torn down Confederate monuments, and while racist bile spewed from the mouth of Trump and others, we held a flag-burning challenge with Joey Johnson, and yes, declared America was never great. And now, with the showdown approaching over the elections, we are working with Refuse Fascism tirelessly to build 60 days of struggle that began on September 5th with the urgent demand, Trump-Pence out now. And while we've been spreading revolution and the leadership of BA, we've also been working to be and bring forward actual followers of BA. We've struggled with each other, with ourselves, and with new people to develop our ability to lead and by taking up and applying the scientific method and approach that he's developed. We've held classes on the Constitution for the new Socialist Republic. We've discussed articles that BA has come out with on topics ranging from how racial oppression can be ended to conspiracy theories versus science, and the recent statements on the immediate critical situation. And the tour has done this with new people and new audiences on social media platforms and Zoom calls. On this tour, we are people who have dedicated ourselves to bringing into being a better world, working day and night to accomplish the mission of this tour. And we are working to bring forward many more who want to be part of meeting this historic challenge. And many of you who have been part of wanting to see this tour succeed have also been part of the work of this tour. Some of you have turned your lives around and joined with the tour or the clubs in different areas. Some of you have written in with important observations or criticisms. And some of you have contributed by letting others know about the mission and work of the tour. And many of you have been part of donating and raising funds. At this urgent moment, there's a tremendous need to not only continue, but to really scale up our reach and capacity by raising many more thousands of dollars now. Today, we have already taken great steps and great strides in that direction. And by the end of this live stream, we will be in a better position to advance the work of this tour. But going forward from here, we actually have to take up the responsibility that really is posed to us in what you have been hearing so far from the statement by Bob Avakian about really rising to the urgency of the situation we face now. In the next segment of this live stream, we're going to share with you a little bit more about some of what the tour has been up to recently.
That's right. Man, you just saw a glimpse of what the tour has been doing, you know, and it's like, it's a lot. And being in the midst of it, you forget all the things that you've done, the things that you have accomplished. And so we need to do more of that and make, you know, more leaps. And right now, while there's a force of members of the tour concentrated in Los Angeles, this is a movement that for a national movement for revolution. We are organizing for revolution on a national scale, but there's a concentration in Los Angeles. And since this beautiful uprising, you know, after George Floyd, when people have taken to the streets demanding that the police terror stop, the police continue to murder black and brown people. And that happened here on August 31st. Dijon Kizzee, 29-year-old, shot in cold blood by an LA sheriff. And this time around, the people in the neighborhood were not silent. Immediately after that happened, people in the neighborhood took to the streets. And this was very inspiring. Two lessons that we can learn from this situation. People rising up, and the heavy repression that came down by the LA sheriff that's coming from the highest power, Donald Trump, calling for retributions of protesters, calling for law and order. And then the Revolution Tour has been in the midst of that, uniting with the people and uniting with organizations, other movements, to say, hey, you know, we need to unite and come even stronger. So right now, I want to invite two of the members of the tour, Michelle and if you can join us right now.
As they come up, I just wanted to do a brief interruption. I'm sorry to let people know where we are.
Yes, please interrupt me.
And update us just real quick. We have raised $717 towards the $2,000 matching donation, and our new total is $7,033. All right.
Yes. So continue with that donation. This is Dizzy. Yes, have a seat here. This is Dizzy and Michelle, who have been in the middle situation in South Central Los Angeles. So before we go to them, we want to play a clip by Noche, who we'll hear from more about what's been happening there. So can we play that clip right now?
Yes.
Well, I want to shout out this young sister anyway, because she was out there bravely. And look, it is very important that everybody came out here today, because what happened to Dejan Kazee is not fucking normal, and people should never get used to it. And this is what they do to people all over this country. They have people in a situation where they're encircled, surrounded, murderously repressed, murdered in the streets, massively incarcerated, segregated into indecent housing. This is how they set up a whole people for a genocide. And when they come out and drive the protesters out of the street night after night after night, they are telling you, this is what we can do to you, and nobody can come out and stand together to stand up against this. So when we come out here together, this is part of turning what they do, trying to encircle the people who have the hardest life back around on them. We need to encircle them by bringing forward waves of people rising up all over this country. Yeah, I'm an outside agitator and you can too. Okay? Everybody who wants to see a world where the Dejan Kizees can not only live but flourish should be agitating. Everybody who wants the generations of black and brown youth to grow up without a target on their back should be agitating. Because when I say genocide, I don't just throw words around. A genocide is killing off a whole people or a large part of that people. There has been a slow genocide going on with police murder and mass incarceration for years. But we are at a point where we could be facing a leap to a fast genocide. Donald Trump is a genocidal racist. If you think that's hype, if you think it's just talk, I encourage you to go to revcom.us and look at Bob Avakian's series, Donald Trump, Genocidal Racist. Look at how he talked about the Central Park Five, calling for them to be put to death. Teenagers, underage, who were falsely accused, who till this day Donald Trump says they must have done something to deserve being locked away and put to death. These people are genocidal racists. And if they're allowed to stay in power, these gangs that are inside the sheriff's department won't just be a secret underground organization. They will become more like how the whole society is run and organized. And we right now need to be getting organized just as furiously, with just as much determination, with just as much sense of the stakes involved as the people who are mobilizing to impose a fascist America. That means being in the streets day after day, week after week, making all kinds of art that demands an end to the fascist America and a defeat for Trump. But it also means that some of us have to start networking and talking now about how are we going to defend the people and the right to the people that are increasingly coming under attack. These neighborhoods that are under siege need to go from places of being brutally repressed to fascist-free zones where people are too organized and too united to be picked off and picked apart. And where people don't just see it as some people over there who are facing this, but see everybody who comes under attack this way as our people. Well, I don't care if you're black, brown, white, red, green, purple, I don't care. If you're a human being with an ounce of humanity, this is your fight. If you're fighting for the immigrant children, if you're fighting for black lives, if you're fighting for democratic rights, or if you're fighting for a revolution to get rid of America and everything it stands for, we all have to come together right now, or else we will be forced to accept a fascist America. And just yesterday was 9/11. which was an anniversary not just of towers coming down in New York, but of Pinochet in Chile. Here is an example of what happens when a fascist comes to power. It wasn't just the same old oppression that people had faced in Chile for decades. People were driven out of the country. People who fought for justice and all their kinds of rights were driven out of the country, driven underground, forced to find refuge. This is what Donald Trump's America will look like if we don't defeat this and get organized now. We cannot be planning for some future where we lose. We have to be planning now for how we win. And now finally I want to say, we in the Revolution Club, while we're united with everybody in this struggle now, we are getting organized for a time when we can overthrow this whole damn system. Bob Avakian has written a constitution to replace the American Constitution, not fix it up or make it better. Our police would be trained to die themselves and to take a bullet before they would ever murder one of the masses of people, because that's what it means to serve and protect. So if you want to be part of fighting to get to that different world, we need to unite, but we also need to get organized for an actual revolution. Come see me and all those in these Revolution Nothing Less shirts, and let's go. Let's get organized.
So thank you for coming. And so you came here to build thousands into the revolution. And it will be good to let the audience know what's it been like. What's it been bringing this revolution in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, well, it's actually, you get a real sense of like the kind of movement that we're actually trying to build for revolution, you know, where different people are actually, one, stepping into joining the Revolution Club, digging into the points of attention, actually having really, you know, interesting struggle, you know, around the points of attention, how they understand it, how they're struggling with different people around it. You know, the different people that, you know, youngsters, you know, as you all have been hearing about, that are putting on the shirts, that are making, you know, important, beautiful videos for social media, and different people that are engaging really deeply with the work of Bob Avakian and are really attracted to how scientific it is, you know, and that there's nothing like it, that they've, you know, engaged and, you know, and then different organizations that are, you know, really in a really important way coming together and actually, like, you know, working with us to try to actually bring forward and mobilize people in the streets, you know, and in particular, like, very interesting and important ways in which this recent uprising and the way in which, you know, people have been in the streets, and how I've heard different stories of people who they had their, you know, their whole, the idea of what their life was going to be about. You know, that's a real challenge that a lot of people are actually, like, you know, struggling with and are actually, like, you know, getting into and actually, you know, trying to resolve themselves, you know, and like people that, you know, I've talked to who are actually in the Revolution Club who said, you know, a few months ago, like, never protested in my life, you know, and like had this whole idea of what society tells you your life is supposed to be about. You get married, you have children, you build a home, you like get a good job and you make money, you know, and you see all your friends and you see everybody around you doing that, and then you're not happy with that, you know, but that's just the way that society tells you that's what you're supposed to do with your life. And, you know, and now they're saying this is what this is, like, I feel happy doing this. I feel this is actually what I want to do with my life, is actually, you know, something greater than just about myself, you know. And different people who, you know, live in South Central that know the day-to-day struggle and the, you know, what it means to be, you know, women in the society and have, like, you know, these fucked up stories of, like, you know, basically being women in the society, and like actually like thinking about growing up in the hood and actually not wanting to get into the gangs, not wanting to, like, you know, get into that, and lifting their sights to, you know, really striving to live for the points of attention. And, like, you know, it's really a broad and really interesting and beautiful thing that's actually coming together, I think, right now, where different people are, even, and from different levels of understanding, right? Engaging with Bob Avakian, fighting to spread it, and actually digging into how do we actually spread this and run with the revolution and fight for these points of attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important question that you asked, you know, to give the people a sense of what they're actually contributing to. What you're supporting is to a physical force that's actually out there, on the terrain, on the field, you know, with their hearts and their minds in the game. You know, we're out there. We're out there. We're at the protests. We're doing the car caravans. We're going through the neighborhoods. We're marching, you know, on foot in the heat, in the swelter of summer, and we're getting into it with people. You know, we're meeting people. We're getting into it, and we're meeting all kinds of people. And it's not a straightforward line. You know, it's a struggle. It's not always easy. But what you're contributing to is very meaningful. And in fact, we have been making some advancements, and Michelle was actually speaking to some of that. We're making some advances. People they're putting on the shirt, you know, they're engaging with the website and the statement from Bob Avakian, and especially, you know, his new piece on Donald Trump, genocidal racist. And they're getting closer and closer to the center by actually engaging the leadership and the science that we do have. And, you know, look, a lot of these people are young people, youngsters, you know, people that we met in the neighborhoods. And they're coming from, you know, one neighborhood, and they're linking up with other youngsters from other neighborhoods around things like the Out Now movement, you know, the movement to drive out the Trump-Pence fascist regime. And then other things like the protests, you know, for Dijon Kizzee. And they're actually linking up about these things, and they're engaging in the revolution, and they're beginning to envision a whole different world, a different society. They're taking up the 6 points of attention. You know, I don't know if I have time to share with you a quick story. Yeah. You know, one of our outings, for example, we were going through the neighborhood, and we were going to meet up with a couple of these youngsters who were just doing their thing. You know, they're having fun, they're skateboarding, they're pulling up on the motorbikes and whatnot. And I had a beautiful encounter with one of them who, you know, he wanted to put on the Revolution Nothing Less club T-shirt. And so we started getting into the 6 points of attention. And as we're going through them, he's got some thoughtful things to say about each one of them, you know, and he's demonstrating what he understands and what some of his questions are and disagreements or whatever. But we got through point of attention number 4. I could just read it. We stand with the most oppressed and never lose sight of their potential to emancipate humanity. To lead them to do that, nor of our responsibility to lead them to do that. We work to win people of all backgrounds to take part in the revolution and do not tolerate revenge among the people. And he kind of paused me, right? And he says, that one right there, that's my favorite one. And so I asked him, well, you know, to say more. Why is that your favorite? Why is that your favorite one? And he tells me, look, I'm growing up in this neighborhood, and there's so much violence, you know, among the people. And everything that you're told is, you know, when something happens and you got to get revenge, you got to get some form of satisfaction out of this, right? And he said, but I can see how that actually doesn't solve the problem of the kind of, you know, world that we live in. In fact, it just keeps it going. He said, revenge, that's the definition of karma. And you know, it's not everything, and there's still more work to be done. But you know, this is someone who's thinking about stuff, who's confronting the reality of the world that he lives in, and is trying to come to, you know, to decide what is his life going to be about, and you know, what to do and how to move forward in this. And then we got to a point of attention number 5. You know, we fight for the truth no matter how unpopular. And I asked him, how do you think that relates to your favorite point of attention number 4? And he says, well, you know, when everyone in this society and the world around you is telling you that, like, revenge is just the natural order of things, and that's just how it is in a world that's so violent and cruel, and you see how that's not true, you actually have to go and struggle with people and fight for something different, fight to help them see things differently. You know. So anyway, this is just to give you some sense of what we're actually going through, about, and some of the transformations that people are going through. Yeah, so anyway, I guess all this to say that it's not been a very linear and easy road, but it's a long track, it's a winding track, and there are bumps in the road, but it's flecked with so much beautiful humanity. And in these moments, I think that what we're starting to see now with some of these advances that we're making, we're seeing that we can rise to our best in these moments and lift each other up in the process, and that's what you're supporting, that's what you're donating to, and it's meaningful.
Well, thank you. This is very important that people are stepping forward, especially the youth. And it reminds me of what the retired teacher wrote about, what the tour strengthens the morale of people, sometimes who's driven to despair by heartless brutality of the system. And this is what we're bringing to people, a hope on a scientific basis. So I appreciate having you both, Dizzy and Michelle, who have been in the midst of this situation in South Central Los Angeles, and we cannot get to all the things of what happened with Dijon Kizzee, but I'm going to refer you to the website. Go to revcom.us. We've written several articles in this situation, and I encourage you to go to the website, revcom.us, read it, and share it. So thank you both for coming.
Thanks for having us.
And so what is the update? Noche, do you have an update?
Oh, I have updates.
Can you let the audience know what the update is? And as we wait for Nochi to tell us his updates, continue to donate.
Yeah, please continue to donate as we update you. Before I actually give you the numbers, though, I'm going to... I do want to, again, there's a lot of statements that have come in from people.
Yes.
You were just reading from a teacher, but just to be clear, this is the person who actually put up the $2,000 as a matching fund. And I'm going to let you know where we are in that matching fund after sharing another statement of support with you.
Great.
This is from a group of healthcare workers, okay, who were part of, raising funds that were, contributing to getting us started. And they say...
Get closer to the mic, I'm told.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My chair got shifted around. So this is again from healthcare workers, a statement on these critical times. We are healthcare workers who are outraged over how the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as many other outrages, have been handled by the fascist, genocidal, racist, and anti-science Trump-Pence regime. We strongly support the Revolution Tour, which is playing a key role in the urgent fight to mobilize millions into the streets to drive this regime from power, as a crucial part and an urgent requirement of the overall work of building for revolution, nothing less. They've been in the midst of the beautiful uprising against police murder, and we are donating and encouraging others to donate as well. And they're sharing different videos with their friends, and including the link to this live stream they've been sharing. And they go on to say, the Revolution Tour is bringing the deepest understanding to people nationwide of the nightmare that we are in and what the solution is. The criteria is not whether you support revolution, but whether you see the danger to humanity and see the need to act to stop this threat to humanity. Medical workers have stepped up many times over the past 3 years, demanding PPE and exposing the criminal act of federal action, facing down and blocking rabid anti-maskers. Doctors and others who lay down in the streets at an immigration detention center in San Diego were arrested after being turned away from giving free flu shots in 2019. Nurses put hundreds of medical shoes in front of the White House earlier this year to protest the hundreds of healthcare workers killed unnecessarily by COVID-19. A black woman nurse was the whistleblower on sterilization abuses at the ICE detention centers. Science is liberating. Let's stand firm. The newest outrage of this fascist regime is that ICE has been carrying out forced sterilizations of immigrants in the detention centers. Forced sterilization is a crime which has always been part of this country's history, done to black women, Latinx, indigenous women, and poor white women throughout the 20th century. And Hitler learned from the US, when in the Nazi death camps, women were subjected to forced sterilizations. So we are challenging people to step up now as healthcare workers and support this tour. It is up to us. There will be no magical hero stepping forward to do this going forward. Only the people can put a stop to this regime. So again, that's a letter from a group of healthcare workers who are donating and supporting the tour. So I am going to now update you on where we are in the $2,000 matching donation. We have, since I was last updated, and donations continue to come in, but we were at 1,802 of the $2,000, okay, that we need to match this. That means we're $198 shy of actually reaching the 2,000. Okay, that's not that much, and that should be, I hope it's already been met since I've been reading that letter. But if it hasn't yet, I'm encouraging everybody to be part of, actually meeting that and matching those $2,000. It will take us, close to, I believe, 11,000 in terms of raised so far on this live stream, and very close to our 5,000 goal. And I think this letter from the healthcare workers actually is really sets us up in terms of we wanted to share with you on this live stream. It's been mentioned several times already, but the most urgent battle before us is whether or not the Trump-Pence fascist regime is going to be able to consolidate, and this is coming to a head around the coming election. And we have, in the Revolution Tour, have been working tirelessly together with the organization Refuse Fascism, refusefascism.org, and we want to encourage everyone to join the fight to drive out this fascist Trump-Pence regime before it really becomes too late. We want to invite everyone to join in the 60 days of nonviolent struggle that began on September 5th to demand Trump-Pence out now. The coming month, October, this must be our month, the month of the people who do not want to live in a fascist America. Not theirs. Not the month that belongs to the fascists. Not the month that belongs to these mobilized, unleashed, vicious white supremacist thugs that Trump has been pumping up and letting loose. Not belonging to the regime of women haters, xenophobes, white supremacists, science deniers. This must be the month that belongs to the people who are mobilizing thousands, tens of thousands, and ultimately millions. And to that end, refusefascism.org has, throughout since September 5th and throughout the 60 days leading into the election, is taking responsibility to contribute everything we can to mobilizing those thousands and leading into the election and if necessary beyond. And tomorrow, September 21st, is a significant milestone. It's going to be the grim milestone of 200,000 dead from COVID-19. Deaths which, by and large, many could have been prevented, but were not because of this science-denying regime who knew that this would disproportionately affect black people, Latino people, people who are vulnerable, and would have just as soon seen them die anyway. This milestone must be marked with the resounding demand for an end to the death, the lies, and the fascist escalation. With the demand, Trump-Pence out now. In word and in deed, each of us must show where we stand. So we want to share with you a brief video that was produced by the Revolution Nothing Less show, and that speaks to the call from Refuse Fascism. Do we have that?
We're not only doing a memorial and honoring and celebrating these lives. For every person who died, we are going to call forth hundreds to fill these shoes. Our side has to get organized with the millions of people who hate this and actually come forward. We got to come back in these streets the way June and July was. It's unacceptable to give up right now. Too much is at stake. And they're going to have to come back forward, and October must belong to us. Rise up for the people of the world, for the people of the world, rise up. For the people of the world, for the people of the world, rise up. There's nowhere more important that you can be than right here today. We are in a crucial time in history where what you all do is going to determine the future.
future. What we do together is going to determine the kind of future we have and the kind of world we want to live in.
If we don't do something now and Donald Trump gets another 4 more years, then we won't have a platform at all to stand on. He will destroy the BLM movement. And he says, look, don't go light on him. Hit him in the head, throw him in the car. Listen, he's not only commending them for the stuff that they do, but he don't see nothing wrong with it. That's why we have to get him out.
Are we doing the challenge?
Yeah.
Okay. So
no, I mean this is the challenge. So we're gonna share with you another healthcare worker in the mental health profession is the one who gave the $1,000 matching donation that we before we were able to share with you. So we did want to also share that message that came in with that with you before continuing on.
So this is why she donated and what she has to say. I'm making this challenge because these are unprecedented times where the brutal reality of where capitalism and imperialism takes us is laid bare before the world. Like gaping surgical wound that cannot heal without massive intervention and redirection. Fascism in America. With a heartless regime that does not believe in science and now over 200,000 lives lost. We see millions of people with no work and no way to get adequate food and at risk for eviction. We see the unleashing of white supremacy with all its hatred, xenophobia, homophobia, patriarchy, bigotry, and hurtling towards fascist consolidation. We see the healthcare providers struggling to keep people alive in ventilators, months in this epidemic, still lacking the testing and PPE needed to do their work, and they too are dying in their horrific process. We are forced to reckon with the excruciating videos of lynching and murders of black and brown people by the pigs with their knee on George Floyd's neck, or the many bullets that ripped through the spine of Jacob Blake. I am a mental health professional, and I hear and see the psychological desperation of people ravished by depression and anxiety. And some take their own lives. We even see the destruction of the planet as it heats up, and California is burning, and Oregon it's burning, and we are soon at the point of no return. Sorry, this is a moving statement. I am making the challenge because this tour is what is desperately needed right now for humanity. Thank you all to all that have been involved in the tour. We love you and we got your back. Please donate all that you can to this precious tour to bring forward a much better world. I'm a little speechless.
It's okay to take a second and let that sink in.
That's very moving. So, do we have an update?
Yeah, we do, but it's right to take a second and let that soak in. In terms of what this tour is bringing and the hope that is represented by people who are going out with not just delusions and hype, but like a real leadership that Avakian has given them to understand why we're in this situation and how humanity could fight its way out of this. We don't have to accept this catastrophic future as the only possibility, but it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take struggle, and it's going to take sacrifice, and donating is a sacrifice. We understand that, but it is worth it to deal with what was described there. To deal with what humanity is facing, yes, it's worth it. And people people have been giving, and we do want to update. We met the $2,000 match. This is very important. I want to shout out everybody who's been watching and contributing. This is,
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you. It's very important.
There was another statement that came in as from 5 individuals and 4 members of a South Asian family who together contributed $910, saying, from a public school teacher, I've decided to support the tour with monthly donations of $25. Oh, I'm sorry, this is separate. There was that family that sent that, and then another statement that came in from a teacher, a public school teacher, giving $25 a month, saying, I've decided to support the tour with a monthly donation. And when I look at the unraveling of democratic norms, I see how we have an opportunity to create the kind of society we want. The kind that allows people to flourish versus one where people are ground down and stripped of their humanity. I call myself a revolutionary because I don't see a system worth saving. I see people in a future worth fighting for. The Revolution Tour is bringing the energy, the daring, and the theory to make revolution a reality, and I want to support them.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's right on.
And we have more statements for you that we want to share, from people who have been donating and raising funds. And I want you to know if you've sent a statement in and we haven't gotten to it yet, or if we're not able to get it on this live stream, it will go up on revcom.us. These statements are very meaningful, and we do see them all. And unfortunately, we can't get to reading them all on this live stream. I mean, unfortunately, because they're all very moving and very important. And it's not just important that you see the people who've donated, but I think people should hear each other. You've all become part of a community of people working on revolution, and what you're contributing, even in the sentiments and the statements, along with the funds, is tremendously important and meaningful, and people should go and read them when they go up online. But we do want to turn to a very important project that the Revolution Tour has been carrying out, which is the production of the Revolution Nothing Less show. Your money, one of the things it goes to, in big part, is the production of this show. And we have some things we want to share. By the way, just before I go there, our total, as I said we've raised the $2,000 matching. Our total now is $11,238.
Yes.
We're very close to the $15,000 folks.
Can we make it happen?
Yeah, we should be able to. We should really aim to go to 15. Okay, by the end of this live stream, and there's time, but now's the time. So. To start us off, to introduce us, first of all, this show, just like I said on the website, you can see a lot of the voices of people who are contributing these statements, tremendous coverage of what's going on in the world, how the revolutionaries are going about building the movement for revolution. The Revolution Nothing Less show is a lifeline for so many people, where there are revolution clubs, where the tour is concentrated, but also where it is not, where there's not already organization. This is one of the key ways in which people are plugged into the movement for revolution. It's one of the key ways in which people are introduced to the new communism of Bob Avakian and the actual movement for revolution that he is leading. And it's a show that is about the world and aiming for and part of making a revolution to get to a whole different and far better world. You're going to hear more about that. To start us off, we have a very short cut of a very beautiful video that was produced by Luan Zocoyote of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. And it's going to be about 3 minutes, and it's going to introduce you to some key things about the show. And then we're going to hear from Luan and Pete. So let's give these people a taste.
The Revolution Nothing Less show, or RNL show in short, was launched 6 months ago as part of the National Revolution Tour in Los Angeles, and in collaboration with the website and paper revcom.us. We started this project knowing it would be a challenge, and we had hopes of reaching a new audience with the revolutionary theory and leadership of Bob Avakian, who's developed a new communism and a whole vision of a better world that's actually possible through making revolution and nothing less. We were determined to make the scientific method concentrated in the new communism accessible as a tool for people to understand the world and solve some of the biggest problems confronting people in the world today. We saw a need to contribute to putting actual revolution on the map through a new form, with videos, discussions, interviews, and being in the thick of protests and social phenomena, using YouTube as our platform. Through challenging how people think, with the new communism as a foundation, bringing to light a new way to fight and end the deep forms of oppression and injustice stitched into society today, giving a real-time analysis of different events in the world, and drawing where the interests of humanity are, pointing to the all too common ways of thinking that run counter to those interests, and pointing to ways we can change that situation. We were out to provoke, challenge, and inspire everyone who watches the show, introducing people to new ideas that bust through the lie that there is no alternative, and showing that a better world is possible.
I want to welcome Luan, Pete. How you guys doing?
Good. That was a good video.
Yeah, it was.
Doing all right.
Speaking of the video, actually, Luan, do you want to tell us a little bit about this video? This is, this is an introduction to what's a 15-minute video. Maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about, what went into making it, why you produced it, and what you were aiming to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, the video was a team effort. We really saw the need and saw the importance to scale up the show and actually bring people in on it. Like, this has been, it's been a show that's talking about revolution, that's connecting people up all over with real revolution, with this leadership. And we really saw it as an important, time and an important moment to actually show people, okay, what are we working on doing? What are we working on transforming, and what are the new challenges that are coming? And we wanted to put the needs out to people because this is a show about the world for a radically different world. And that's something that, takes a lot of heart. It takes a lot of looking into, what's happening in the world scientifically, and then actually, going out there and speaking to the different problems. So, yeah, it was something that we did together.
So Pete, you're also a part of the Revolution Nothing Less crew. Do you want to share some more about what it's like being part of the team that's working to produce this show every week? What it's like being the Pete on the street, going out there to get the interviews to that become part of the Revolution Nothing Less show? I'm sure, look, people who are tuning into this live stream, a lot of them, I hope, have seen the Revolution Nothing Less show. And if you haven't, go to the RevComs at YouTube and make sure you check out the latest episode, but also go back. They're all worth watching. And, I'm sure people who watch it are curious as to, what it's like being someone who's part of that crew.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy. It's not easy technically, but also what Luan is talking about. The world is changing, constantly, and you have to be attuned to actually speaking to what's given at any given situation. Not just this is our script and this is our plans for the show, but it's constantly changing. And the importance of Pete on the street. Just going out and you don't really know what to expect. What people's responses are. But, this is really, we've been learning a lot in terms of how do we really ask the questions that are really getting at the actual contradictions, that people could speak about. Not just, we want this answer and for you to speak that way. Or any way that the news media, CNN, all these liberal news, if not fascist Fox News putting out their slant, But we're actually about putting out a show that's actually showing people the contradictions that people are actually working on. Not just as contradictions, not just as this is what people think, but how do we actually change it? And I think, just thinking about Pete on the street, whether it's the flag burning with a notorious flag burner, Joey Johnson, or, going out in the streets in the initial outpourings of what happened with George Floyd, that white woman, what she said of she was basically just working every day and wanted to join these protests. But with further questioning, it really gets at the heart of, well, I'm white, what's going to happen to me? Not just what's going to happen to me, but if they put me down, this means a lot of me actually being out there and overcoming the fear overcoming the fear. That's really modeling for people to actually, work with, and you get a sense of people's thinking and how it actually changes too. Where people come forward and they say, well, I can't burn that flag, but by the end of it, they're burning that flag, they're changing our thinking, and it's inspiring people. This is what this show is about, provoking and challenging and inspiring people.
So I would like to ask you guys, actually, if you want to say anything about, to the people, they give you a sense. I know in the work that we've been doing in the tour and in LA, there's numbers of people who have begun to step into the revolution for whom, they comment on the role that the show has played in terms of being something that's helped them wake up to what's going on in the world and what role they have to play in it. People who have said that this is, help clarify for them what's the situation we're in and given them the backbone for how to actually go at what's needed to change this. Some people who are from different cities, who are alone, who say the show is what they see, every week, and it makes them feel part of something in a place where they feel otherwise so alone. Keeping those people in mind, and the people who have not yet seen the show, the audience that we need to have. Is there anything you'd like, as people who are working on it, to say directly to them while you're live here on this live stream about, what you're doing, and also what their money is part of going to, for the people who are watching right now?
Yeah. This is really like the connection, the lifeline, in the midst of this pandemic and all that, we didn't expect COVID to come, but it did happen, and it wasn't anything less than the flu. It wasn't anything that, this was actually a real thing. And, we're hearing stories from people who are, alone and by themselves, and not just by themselves, just to get a connection, but they're looking for the answers, and what to do about any given situation, and being inspired by, those who were actually putting forward on the screen, as well as the leadership that Andy and Sansara and BA is actually putting forward, This is the lifeline that people need. This is the vaccine that people are actually looking for, And, I'll just say, reading this comment from somebody from France, somebody who said, Pete on the street, this is a, what he's actually getting, of actually getting the voices. This is actually what we're not seeing, on the news media. This is not what we're not seeing, and not just that, but, everything that this show is actually about, and people should donate to this. People should put their money. If you want to see more of Pete on the street, if you want to see more of, the variety, the American crime, and there's just so much to the show. If you want to see that put out there, revolution and this leadership put out there, donate to this.
Yeah, I really want to second that because, look, it takes funds, to put this show on the road. It takes funds to get, mics like this, the camera that you're watching, that's a new camera that we just got, so that we could do good street interviews. And, this has been a way that a lot of people have been able to get in touch with the revolution, actually see what problems are we dealing with, what do we need to be thinking about, This is changing how people think and actually is bringing people to what they need, a real solution, how we can actually solve these big problems confronting humanity. And you see that every single week, like the Andy commentaries, like the different little videos that we have produced that kind of bring to light, okay, what's actually happening? And, now with this question of fascism, there's so much that people need to get connected with, how do we actually fight this? How do we understand this? What's going on? And, in a world where people are constantly being barraged with all this constant information, it can be really hard to see a way out. And this is providing that, this is providing a way for people to get connected to that.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us. And, again, this is, you've seen on this live stream several videos that have actually been produced as part of the work of the Revolution Nothing Less team. This live stream itself has been put on by the same crew that does the work to produce the show every week. And a lot of these videos are clipped up on the channel, but also you should go and watch the episodes you were mentioning. Andy Z gives timely commentary to understand, both what the situation is, every week, and also how we're working together to act on and change and transform it. Andy Z and Sansara Taylor. And really want to encourage people, again, to go to the RevComs. If you haven't, follow, subscribe, share the channel and the show. and become part of the effort to really project this out even more broadly by writing to us, but also by donating. Now is your time to actually be part of launching this show into another level and getting the kind of audience that's needed, but also being able to do what you've already done and much more. So again, thank you both for joining us. It's been a real treat. Did you want to say something before we go?
I just wanted to say something really quick. We also, if you saw in the last episode, people should check out episode 26.
Yes.
We're calling for volunteers to actually come help edit, come produce videos. We need more stuff that actually shows people what's going on, and there's a way that you can throw in, and email us at therevcoms@gmail.com. therevcoms@gmail.com. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube. We saw some people from the last episode are watching now, so thank you for tuning in, and keep on tuning in, and let's bring more people into this.
All right. And then, yes, go to the RevComs, and that video that you just got a taste of, the whole 15 minutes of it will be up on the channel, the RevComs, and it really lays out all the ways that you can be part of things, what the mission of the show has been, what's been the challenges as well as the great achievements of the show. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us. All right.
Thanks.
How we doing, Maya?
I think we have an update, but before we give you an update, I would like to read a statement.
Yeah.
And a statement from...
Sorry, let me just get my notebook
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to read a statement and pledge from a group of immigrant women in support of the tour. They pledged to raise $200, 50 of which has already been raised. And they write it in Spanish and English. I'm going to read the English one. As immigrants, we face oppression and discrimination and demonization for generations and generations. But from BA, we learned that racial oppression is like cement being poured into the foundation of a building. And this building is American capitalism imperialism. We also learned that fascism does not come from outside. It is a product of this system, and it is a different, extremely dangerous monster. If fascism solidifies its rule, it means disaster for everybody on the planet and disaster for the planet itself. Fascism can lead to the end of the struggle for justice. So we have to remove this monster and drive out the Trump-Pence regime. This is an urgent step we have to take for making revolution. And we are glad that this thrust is being taken out by the National Revolution Tour everywhere, especially where people are rising up in struggle. And very important.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful and very important, especially the section of people that are being attacked, straight up genocide by this regime has in plan for all sections of people, especially the TPS that has been ruled. Give me a second. Where is the update? So the update is, so yes, continue to donate. Let's try to make it to $15,000. Right now, the update is we have $11,943. So that is really good. Thank you to everyone that has already donated. And again, we encourage people to continue to donate. And remember that we do have premiums. And so just a reminder of the premiums. One is, I just want to emphasize the $50. If you give $50, you'll have a discussion with Lenny, because that's what he said. You'll have a discussion with Lenny on the statement of BA, that the August 1st statement. And this is a crucial moment where people everywhere needs to start getting into what's in there, the challenges that we face, the critical situation, and what to do about it right now. So that's what you'll get. And you have a note here.
No, yeah. We want to remind people about the premiums. Keep going.
Okay, okay. The other thing is for $25, you either get the Constitution. Again, this is the blueprint of the society. What's going to replace the U.S. Constitution day one after the revolution. The U.S. Constitution should be in museums right now. Or you get the basics, which is the handbook for the revolution. That's a must Everyone needs to have that. For $100, you get the memoir and Basics or the Constitution. And we still have more of the figurines, right?
That's right.
So if we can get that on the screen to remind people of these beautiful 2 feet figurines that were made by a supporter. These are beautiful they donated this for this fundraiser. So we still have a few left on those. Let me get it. No, I just...
Okay. Well, look, we're getting another update because I understand there's more donations coming in that we want to announce, and we're coming towards the close of this live stream, and we're close to 1,200 now, and I look forward to being able to let you know where we're at with these latest round of donations that have come in. But I do want to sort of maybe take a second and just say it's been a whole lot that we've been through for the last 2 hours and 19 minutes. We've heard about the urgent situation we're in. You got to witness a incredible kind of a laboratory of revolution with Lenny Wolf, Luna, and Prose discussing the work of Bob Avakian to provide tremendous leadership on how to understand the immediate situation, but also what it has to do with the whole situation humanity is in fighting to get to a whole different and far better world. You've heard from people who've been on the revolution tour about the struggles that we've been part of, including very recently in South Central, where the police murdered Dejan Kizi, and the experience of bringing people into the revolution, including very young people, and the precious, sort of shoots and roots that are represented by what's already been done by this tour. You heard from people who work on the Revolution Nothing Less show about the work of that show. You've seen videos all throughout this live stream about that they've been producing, and you got a taste of what it's like to be with them working on that show. And this is all part of what your funds are going to, have gone to, and are needed to project much further and to advance much further on. You've heard statements from people about, what hopes get concentrated when people have put their lives to something that could truly make a difference for the whole future of the planet. You are now one of those people by donating, by being part of this live stream, by spreading the word of this. We have to meet this 15,000 by the end of the month, and we're within striking. We should meet this by the end of the day, to be honest, if we haven't already. But that is, again, a beginning. We have to go forward and raise much more funds to project this. You heard Lenny Wolf talk about the thousands who have already seen the statement from BA, Bob Avakian, on the immediate situation, and millions, if millions saw this, this could change the game in terms of what conversations are being had. Every day you see coverage and analysis of what's going on with Trump, but you do not see anything close to what Bob Avakian is talking about in terms of how this thing is moving, how this is working, what we're facing with the growing rise of a fascist regime, what must be done to actually prevent this disaster facing humanity, and what this has to do with the nature of this whole system, why we can't rely on anything but mobilizing masses of people. Imagine if this were everywhere. Imagine if many more people were coming to know who Bob Avakian was, someone who's dedicated his entire life to working on how humanity can get free of all oppression. Okay, you can go to revcom.us and read The New Communism. Get your hands on Basics. You can see a recent article about Bob Avakian and the oppression of black people, which has been a hallmark of his work for decades and actually is a formative part of how he became a revolutionary, was the struggles and uprisings of black people. And he has dedicated himself to ending, yes, all oppression, but has spent years looking at where this comes from, what this has to do with the whole history of this country, and fighting to get free from all oppression. Again, this is part of what you can be putting before millions of people. And think about the effect that that can have when you think about the stories you heard from the folks on the tour who have been in South Central, encountering people who are saying, I've been seeing you guys, I've been seeing those shirts, and who are wrestling with big questions that have been opened up since the beautiful uprising about what are our lives going to be about. Mm-hmm. When that question is posed, what will be the answer there for people? Will they even know that this is an answer, that there is a way that a better way that the world can be, that there is a leader who has dedicated himself to solving the problems of how we could put an end to oppression, that there is a leader who is leading now to build a movement for revolution and who is providing tremendous leadership to everybody who wants to confront the urgent situation of a fascist regime that could imperil the existence of humanity. People who are asking those questions, what should my life be about? What is worth living for, fighting for, and yes, what it would be worth dying for? Will they even know that there is something that could bring about a whole better world that can be part of the answer to that question? And will they know that there's a group of people that they can become part of, working together with, not just here in LA, but all across the country as part of a national movement for revolution to make that hope a reality? All of that depends on what we support or don't support. All of that depends on what we do or don't do now. And what you have done on this live stream is a tremendous contribution to giving the right answer and doing the right thing in relationship to that.
Well, that was beautiful and very important. It is, without this, people are kept in the dark. And this provides some lightness to understanding why things are happening and what to do about it. And this is what your contribution actually provides this revolution to reach millions of people, thousands who are needed right now to get organized and become revolutionary leaders. And so continue to donate, you know, and one way to actually donate is to become a monthly sustainer. This can be as small as $5, you know. I know the times are tough. Yes, this system, look, if there was any other solution besides revolution, we would have made it. But yes, the times are tough. The COVID is a nightmare, you know, unemployment. But what's needed now more than ever is this understanding, this leadership that people don't know about, and becoming a monthly sustainer is a way to actually allow this work to continue. Again, as little as $5, $20, $100 a month. Think about it and think about the difference that would make to bring in this to the millions of people who right now agonize over what's happening. We do have another statement that this was, I think it was put on the website, but it's worth reading it again. And this is from an immigrant. An immigrant supporter of the national tour for an actual revolution in Southern California has donated $250 and would like to issue a challenge to others nationally to match it or to raise it towards the $15,000 goal of this live stream. So again, any amount from $5 to $250 to $1,000. The $15,000 that we need to raise right now, this is just a drop in the bucket. Okay, we need thousands and thousands of dollars. And again, what's more worth giving to than to this revolution at this moment in time? People give to every other organization, every other movement, the Democratic Party, etc. Well, donate to something that has an actual solution to putting an end to the system that oppresses people. And we can, and we have a strategy to get us to a society beyond oppression, beyond the divisions. That is what your donation are part of making this happen. So continue to donate. And let me see, let me check with my comrade to see if there are any more updates on where we are at. Again, any amount helps, from $5 to $50 to $500, $1,000. I know times are tough. And even if you're a student, you can donate. I know we say, you know, well, I'm a student, I don't have any more money. Well, you know, you get a latte once in a while, okay? I'm not saying don't get that latte, but maybe for a day, don't get that latte and give that money to the revolution. When I was in college, look, I was poor in college, but when I heard my favorite station where I got my news, and they started asking for donations, I felt compelled to be part of that, and I gave money to that. Again, we want you to feel compelled to be part of this revolution and the difference that your donations will make by donating to the National Revolution Tour.
That's right. So we do have an update for people.
Let's hear it.
Okay, I'll think about it. No, look, we've been on a very important journey together, and what you were just saying is very important, and I do want to announce that what we've gotten to at this point, and things are still coming in. I actually see that I'm getting messages coming in as we speak, so I just want to make sure I don't give you the wrong numbers. But look, this is where we are. We have raised $13,728 out of the $15,000 goal. And is there another update? I'm sorry. Okay.
We're getting some face.
We got our wonderful crew that's been working, tirelessly this entire time, answering the phones, checking the emails, monitoring the accounts, seeing what's coming in, and we're getting another message that I want to share with you. Yeah, okay, so yes, $13,728. That means we're just $1,272 shy of our $15,000 goal.
That's right.
Okay?
That's not much.
That is not much, okay? And, again, we've, been bringing to you what this tour is about, what its aims are, and what it's done with the funds that you give. Again, you volunteers who have dedicated their lives, who have gone around the country, on the front lines of struggles, materials that are needed to spread the word about the leadership we have, and to enable people to themselves become leaders by getting into not only, getting into what Bob Avakian has done, and by spreading the word about this revolution and what needs to be done.
They want us to repeat the numbers.
Repeat the number?
Yes.
Okay, 13,728. That is where we are right now. And, again, we're only $1,272 short of our $15,000 goal. We should, I would love to see that made, within the next few minutes. I mean, you who are watching right now, let's take this home together, okay? There's not much left. If you can give $5, give $5. If you can give $10, give $10. Okay, think about the messages that you've heard, and then think about what your message is going to be, okay? And what you have to say to everybody about your hopes and your dreams and the possibility for a whole different world that's been awakened, why it is that you're giving to this revolution. Either write a statement or make a video. All of this is part of, the community that's being built around making revolution, about getting to a whole different world, okay, and which you've stepped into and have become part of. Let's do this together, okay? Let's go forward from here and develop networks all around the country that are raising funds, all right? You saw that beautiful artistic project of producing those papier-mâché figurines. That was tremendously creative and tremendously precious. Were we able to share the message that came in with that, by the way?
The message is here.
No, this is another message that is also great. That's actually, why don't you go ahead and share that? This is a message from someone who's part of the Revolution Club who has made a donation.
Okay. I thought it was, okay. This is from a Revolution Club member. Enough is enough. We need a revolution, period. Humanity needs the Revolution Tour, and the Rev Clubs and all who want any future worth living in need to get with this revolution. I'm giving $400, but wish I could give $4,000. The 5 stops can't be ended without an actual revolution, so every reform or band-aid just doesn't make the cut. The emancipation of humanity and the planet is what everyone should be working on. This is a challenge to match my $400 donation right now. Send in $20, $50, $100, because this work must be supported, and millions need to find out about this revolution with your help. Does it continue?
No, this is something else. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is from the...
So that's a challenge for everyone. Again, this person is giving $400, and like they said, they wish they could give $4,000. So if you can match that, send in that donation. Where does the money go? Look, we need materials. We need supplies. Our people got arrested during the Dijon Kizzy, and their phones were confiscated, and so were our bullhorns. You know, I went to Portland. One of the bullhorn was destroyed. It still kind of works. But these are the things that the funds will actually make it happen. We can replace those things. How can we go out in the neighborhood without a bullhorn? You can't. You need sound. We need to upgrade our sound system. You know, so things like this that you may not have thought of, those are so critical for this movement. You know, we need iPads so we can show, you know, people the RNL show, so we can show people clips by Bob Avakian. You know, those are things that are critical to this movement. So again, I urge you to donate. Let's try to make this $15,000 right now. Again, this is a drop in the bucket to what's actually needed. So donate any amount you can. If you donated already, can you donate a little more? You know, we appreciate your donations, but let's dig deeper right now.
This is the one about the statue.
Okay. So, yes. So Noche is going to read from the person.
Right,
who
I was
did
mentioning the
yes,
paper
go
mache
ahead.
figurines as like a especially creative
Yes.
way in which someone was able to participate in this fund drive. And the person who produced it also sent along a message that went with it that would like to share with you. You know, they say, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words about my non-monetary contribution to the fund drive for the very important tour, which I've been following and think is super important. I wish you all the best and will continue contributing as much as possible in this and other ways. And he says, you know, well, I've for years been learning and working with different mediums such as paint, drawing, paper mache, and engravings. I made these figures out of paper mache because I was already working with this medium along with other people in making a large Trump head that we needed for September 5th's Refuse Fascism United Nationwide Mass Protest to demand Trump Pence out now. And they worked with, they were part of a workshop and were working with people on producing tributes to Breonna Taylor, effigies of a local ICE representative that's locking children in cages, and you know, figures celebrating the Oaxacan cultural jaguar heads. And during the workshops, which lasted weeks and were held outdoors to abide by COVID standards, a couple of well-known muralists and other artists checked out what we were doing. And in conversations with some of them and explaining why we were making our project and making sure that they all got leaflets and stickers, we spoke to them about the importance of art, not as some afterthought or something that is just going to add color to protests, but about how important it is that art be integral and organic to the struggles. We spoke about the pandemic devastating many artists from the community, and don't want to share personal details of people. And people also spoke together about the need for more artists to be part of the struggles that are going on. And so it was during these weeks that, you know, this person heard of the tour, the fund drive that was being had for the Revolution tour, and decided to make something that can be, you know, shared and either auctioned or sold. And they thought, in terms of what to make, they decided on something that would reflect what the tour is about. And when you make, it's kind of like when you make a poster announcing an event. So one of the figures One of the figures is expressing the fact that the world needs BA's new communism and is holding up the book and has a bullhorn to let everyone know, as well as a back-pocketing a copy of Revolution newspaper. And the other figure expresses that the only way humanity can get free of this system is by overthrowing it, not reforming it, and is wearing their Revolution Nothing Less t-shirt. So once again, I wish you all the best and hope that these figures can make a small contribution. Well, they've made a huge contribution, so again, thank you to the person who made them. And I think this is a really beautiful and inspiring example of the kinds of things that people can do to actually contribute to the fund drive. I think we had an update come in while I was reading that.
Yes, we do have an update, and we have, wait for it, surpassed. We have surpassed our goal of $15,000.
Wow. That is beautiful.
We have $15,378. This is incredible. This is amazing. This is beautiful. And we really, really appreciate everyone who has donated. You have taken part in this revolution and in making this revolution happen. And I'm just very giddy right now. This is wonderful.
Great. Yeah, I mean, this is great. Look, yeah, let that flash. No, but in all seriousness, you've been part of accomplishing something today, okay? You know, we're excited because, you know, we've been putting our hearts out there today, and we really felt the responsibility and the honor to be able to be here as your hosts,
Yes.
share with you, what we've shared, and because we felt this was, a really precious opportunity to interact with, this community of revolution that, that we're all part of, and it's been a joy and a pleasure, and to have met this goal, is tremendously uplifting and important. And it's not just a victory for us who are fighting to raise the funds. It's a victory for everybody who has been tuning in, who has been donating, who has been contributing, including the people who are out there on the streets every day. People who find it so difficult to step out of the life that this system has put people in and step into the revolution and are striving to do that, to know that there are people who have your back when you step out to do that, that there are people who are part of a community and a network of support when there are people who take that important step of getting into the revolution, is a tremendously inspiring and thing to be proud of. All of you have been part of achieving that goal. Should be proud of yourselves, and again, what it's for should not be lost sight of, but damn it, we can celebrate.
That's right. Right.
Okay. So with that, this is a step, and there's much more to do. And so let's go to work. Let's celebrate,
continue.
but let's go to work on how to go forward and go, raise further funds, but also, bring forward more people who are part of raising the funds, part of doing the work of making revolution. Yes, humanity is in a very dire and serious situation, but we actually have some things that we need to be able to fight for a whole different and much better future. And why shouldn't we be, proud and uplifted and inspired that we're doing that? So thank you all. I don't know if you
So
want to
thank
say
you.
anything. Yeah.
No, that's
This has been
beautiful
great.
ending.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
See you again soon.